work and like my family life. It was just something that I could do to express myself. And then the man who would be my manager and then also my producer, they happened to find me while I was out one night, and after they saw me play, they asked if I wanted to take a shot at it, and I said yes. And I noticed immediately that my relationship with my art changed. I became a lot more defensive. I became a lot more guarded over what I was going to do with my music. I realized immediately that the white gaze was on me, and it was never something like, it was never explicitly said like, you have to appeal to white people, but it was said things to me like, well, we want the NPR crowd to dig what you're doing, so keep that in mind when you're, you know, presenting yourself. And I remember when I was told that, like 3 years ago, how angry I was, how upset I was that, you know, that my sensibilities as an artist had to align with predominantly white tastes because they have the most buying power. And I've been told from people in like my immediate circle, like, you want to be able to make money from your art. Like you're not just like making this for yourself, you want to make money, which we all know that means that you have to find a way to be palatable to a white consumer. So I would say that I became a lot more militant about what I was here to do. The support system that I found was my mother. She is a community organizer in Nashville. I made friends with incredible Black women who work, whose work like nourishes them, and I took notes on what it meant to be a Black woman going out into the world. I had to lose a lot of naivete about what it meant for me as being a Black woman. I had to understand finally that I wasn't just, that the world isn't colorblind, and that you can be talented, you can be driven, whatever, you're still going to be seen as a Black woman, and all that entails. I would say too that my support system has been Black women that came before me making art. I'm a huge fan of Toni Morrison. I'm a huge fan of Victoria Spivey. And then beyond that, other Black authors who have dared to experience, like, share their experience of the South, like Sterling Brown. I'm deep in his work right now. And it's just reminding me, especially with Toni Morrison, she reminds me that you don't have to cater to the white gaze. Like, you can make your art, and you can have it informed by Blackness and whatever that means for you, and you do not have to cater to that gaze. Like, I think of Beloved and how there was a big brouhaha about that book in particular because she went on Charlie Rose and she says, I don't include the white gaze in my writing. It's just not there. I'm telling our stories to us. And I find that, and what troubles me a lot about Black art right now is that it seems to be that we want to emulate our oppressor. We are sending out the same signals that they are sending out. And it's like, we lose so much of who we are when we try and set up our art to mirror what they say is successful. And it's just a game that I find myself sometimes in my mind like trying to compare myself to other white artists, and I realize, well, I can't do that because the system was not set up for me. And it's never going to be that I'm going to be as palatable as a white woman doing what I do. It's just not going to happen. And so my support system has just been going inward, retreating back to Black people that have made art before me and learning from their lives and kind of working and making art in spite of the system of like white supremacy.
In thinking about how you can translate Morrison's approach to making music, maybe that can go for both of you, how do you attempt to engage with your creative process outside of this all-pervasive gaze, right? Where it's almost, I think, inescapable in some ways. It's like, how do you, in your process, keep that gaze from infiltrating or changing your work?
I think about the intent behind my work. I try to be very mindful. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to get across? Like, why are you even writing? Like, why are you creating this? And the hardest thing for me about being an artist is keeping other people out of my head. You know what I mean? And so it might be a little bit self-limiting. I'm definitely a recluse, but I find that I have to cut myself off from the world when I'm creating. Like, I have to shut the world off. Like, I don't have a TV in my home. I've never owned a computer. I don't have internet. And I kind of have to just go in like communion with like these artists that came before me and kind of just be honest about my experience in the world, like what it feels like to be alive. And I have to go to a place of like a complete lack of vanity. Like, I can't make vain art. I just cannot do that because I feel like I make myself into a statue when I do. And it's like, and I have to, my thing that drives me is expanding the spectrum of the Black Southern woman's experience. You know, I feel like it's just so narrow. We often become like our bodies or these sexual beings, and it's like, that's not who I am. Like, there's this full like breadth of my experience that I want to share, you know, with the world. And that's why I make art, is to know my community.
So I see like two different directions that I want to go in, so I'm going to try and choose one. I guess I'm thinking about the ways in which conceptions of Black femaleness, Black femininity, particularly when tied to the South or tied to a particular type of place, you know, is often a construction that looks at the Black woman either as a sexual object or as labor in a way. And so when you are making art, it's like the nice thing and maybe the terrible thing about music is that you have to share it with people, but like you hopefully want to monetize it in a way that will enable you to keep making art and not have to work at like a restaurant or wherever. It's kind of the artist's dilemma. How do I fund this thing that is so important to me? And so in thinking about labor and the fact that you have to sell this product to people, both of you, in order to attain some kind of modicum of success, with an asterisk next to it, because we're going to talk about what success actually means and how one can define it in a bit. But how do you not get kind of caught up in the fact that at the end of the day, it's like you do have to, in some way, sell your product to someone? Like, does your status as labor kind of affect you negatively?
I feel like I want to answer that, and I want to touch back on what the last question was too.
Whatever you want.
Only because I feel like when writing the first amount of songs that I did, I had no understanding that I would reach a lot of people. It's good because I felt very much that I was living from who I was, my experience, about my family, and my tantrums and bad behavior. But it was probably halfway through the last years of touring that I started to think about how everything that informed the type of music that I was making was in that time of being young and being in Baraboo and feeling like I couldn't listen to the Temptations when my friends were around and like that. You know, the music that I grew up on. And I was like, why am I like, you know, so I listened to the Dixie Chicks in 3rd grade. Like, actually, I still will fuck with the Dixie
That
Chicks.
first album.
But you know, having that be my link, you know, that became what. That's a library of sound that I reference, like, or listen to. I mean, I wouldn't say that the music that PHOX is making is anything like Alkaline Trio or whatever, or like punk, whatever. It's not punk music, pop punk or whatever. but what am I trying to say? I believe that the music that we made on this first record was me, but it was in this way that was clouded by like what still an like a pandering. And I'm trying to right now, moving forward, and figuring out the kind of music I want to write and play. I'm trying to manage. I'm trying to figure out what do I really like? What informed what I like? So I don't know. It's like this is a really new conversation for me. So I mean, I know I feel like the music that I would make would be. Let's see. I think my personal goals would be something that would be aligned to like something I want to make music that I would want to listen to. I want to make music that's like emotionally potent. That's like I gravitate towards like Rufus Wainwright, Fiona Apple, and Erykah Badu. Like really was like raw and like it's so open. Like he was like locked in a cage, and it's so I don't know. It's a task to it's good. It's cathartic, you know, to write that stuff on the front end. But then you're making a decision to ruminate, basically, because you're going to perform it for 2 years. So it's like I'm trying to right now, and it's honestly been a trudge. Like we're on our second record, and it's like really fucking terrifying. And I'm like, I want to make something that represents me. I just don't want it to be representative of my self-hatred that I was like too proud to see. Yeah, I don't know. I hope people buy it, whatever it is. It's like, I mean, also like I know now. It's like I would just, you know, I'm not sending you a time later, but success or I've never had money, so I would be really fine at feeling good about the art that we do. I just realized I just don't feel good about me. So that's like
And so success for you would be feeling, or part of success for you would be feeling good about the art.
yeah, and I mean also to answer like that second question, it's hard to not consider things that people on your business team are saying to you, or when you go to festivals and like maybe people that were curious about working with you before and like they're music industry types, like they do have the audacity to come up to you and say like, hey, I really had more hope for your record. I don't know what the fuck you're saying. What am I, like, God, you're totally isolating yourself from like anyone connecting you all this 10-letter word or like, you know, clouding it with complex. I don't think our music is complex. I'm not trying to like it's so heady. It's like city tweet, but occasionally I'll cloud the language, I think. And that was something just with myself where I was always embarrassed. I always felt trite when I was writing something, so I would, you know. Anyway, I'm going down like 10 record holes, but it's hard. You want to silence those voices. It's hard to not consider that when you're writing, you know, for your next record. It's hard to not try to pander around like, am I convincing myself that I like this? I don't know. I'm right.
I think my relationship to my work is summed up best by this musician, Gillian Welsh. She has a lyric in one of her songs where she says, "I've never minded working hard, it's who I'm working for." And for me, the thing that's been most liberating, and this has happened very recently in my career, is reminding people that I work with, you work for me, you serve my art. That's the only reason why we are incommunicado. I'm not here to impress, I'm not here to win people over, which certainly, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, every artist wants to feel like they're having an impact, that they're connecting, that people are understanding their art, that they're relating to it. But that can never be like the outset. Like that can never be why I pick up my guitar or I pick up a pen and paper, is to, you know, be liked. And so I feel like I've kind of had to go to this place where when I do work is, I work to work. And my goal is to be able to keep doing my work. Like that's what I want from my art. Honestly, like that's the relationship that I want to keep from my art. I never want to have to look at my art and like put my hands around its throat and be like, oh my God, like this has to pay off. And I think as a woman, especially as a young Black woman, it's so important that you have the ability to say no to people. That, and especially when you're dealing with like music people, music business people, they feel like they have this right to tell you who you are. And it's like, well, Jonathan, like you need to step back. Like I've had to put so many boundaries around my art and had to tell people that care about me, who are working for me, you do not go there. You do not tread there. And I've had to tell producers and managers and whoever else, labels, like, you are getting too close. Like, you need to step back. Step back. And that it's the only way that I'm going to be able to make the art that gets all of us paid. And that is just like something that I don't negotiate on, is my headspace when I go to create. I can't be thinking about what other people want from me. It's the one part in my life where I don't have to. Like, I've had to work so many jobs where I've had to completely just like efface myself and become just hands, waiting tables, folding shirts, you know, just like, no, I'm not going to do that with my art. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take like a position of subservience when it comes to creating. This is me like reveling in my autonomy as a creator. Like this is me, and my outcome with my work is just to allow me to do that even more. And I find that when you are honest, when you get up there and you perform these songs for people, they respect that. Like they connect to that. Like they see, yeah, like you're telling your truth, and that's what I find people respond to most. Ironically, is when you're just yourself.
Yeah.